Hello folks, welcome back to GingerLion's modded Minecraft Let's Play with the Agrarian Skies mod pack. So, since last episode I went and placed out my 16 aura nodes. If you'll note, I scanned each one of them. They all seem to be in reasonable condition. I've got some bright ones, most of these are normal. Let's see, what else do I have here? Yes, normal, bright. I guess that's all I get at the moment, normal and bright. I've got a whole array of things, and I'm going to go ahead and try to fill up this wand. Let's see, now I need an air node. Is there any air nodes? I hope I've got at least one air node. Oh, there's some air. So, this will allow me to completely refill my wands. Now, oh look, there's another one, good. I'm going to work very carefully to make sure that I don't destroy any of these, which is why I sort of put them on little glass pedestals. I'm going to break those now. There's no reason for me to leave those in place. I wonder something, just feeling a little silly. Nope, okay. Pickaxe it is. Now, if you hit these nodes with your pickaxe, you can destroy them. In fact, they're relatively easy to destroy. I recommend people be extremely careful around them. Also, the reason I spaced them out, remember I got that, oh hey look, this is what Silk Touch is worth. Remember how I got that ability to move nodes? Well, I haven't moved any nodes up here, but if I want to move any of these nodes to somewhere else someday, for God knows what reason, I would need to surround them in glass and put a layer over the top of the glass of wood, and then tap it with a wand, and that would encase it. So there we go. Now I have a pretty good solid location to recharge some wands. Also wanted to show you that before I did that, I spent a little while, and I built out, there's a node over there, there are some nodes back there. I connected to a couple of them, but then I decided it was probably easier for me to just use the 16 I'd been gifted with. I guess I wanted to show you guys how you do it if you weren't given that. So, anyway. I'm going to leave these silverwood trees alone for the moment. I'm going to see if this node grows into anything bigger than 3s, though it doesn't look like it's gonna. I, at the moment, have, let's see, 7.5 stacks of greatwood logs and more than a stack of silverwood logs. I think that'll be plenty for the purposes I have. Let me see. Oh, and these ethereal essences, these come from breaking nodes, and I got them by, hey look, I haven't scanned a fire shard? Of all things? I guess I better go check my shards. Let's see which other ones I haven't scanned an order shard. I haven't scanned an entropy shard. Or an air shard. Or a water shard. What have I been doing? Clearly not paying enough attention to the things I should be scanning. So, this episode, I intend to relatively firmly push forward on my Thaumcraft research. I'm not going to do all of it on camera. I'm not even going to do all the things that I build on camera. For example, I made these ropes. These give me Viz discounts when I'm doing things. The recipes for these ropes are all here in the Thaumcraft, and they're under enchanted fabric. Enchanted fabric is black, any wool surrounded by string, and then you make these with the various essences to craft them. They give me all told, including the wand that I'm using, when I do work, I get an 80% Viz cost, which means I get 20% off on the cost per item that I use. So, that's great, and I can now fill up my wands quick and easily. So, I'm going to dig into my book and figure out what the next thing is, and I'll be right back as soon as I have fun things for you to see. Hello again, folks. So, I've decided that one of the first things that I'm going to make en masse is warded jars. There are 51 different types of essentia, And so I feel like 51 warded jars is not a bad thing to have. And, in fact, because the things to make them are not hard for me to get, I'm also going to grab myself 30, 45, 51, and obsidian. And I'm going to turn all of these into the next step up. So, warded jars will be able to hold essentia. Simple, basic. Can put labels on them. I intend to do that. But void jars, once they fill up, they will... once they fill up, they will void any excess. And most of the essentias I'm never going to want more than 60 of, and I don't really want to spill it out into the atmosphere. There are good, solid reasons for that, and I will, because they can make what's called instability. So this is going to take me quite a lot of Perdito and a reasonable amount of aqua. I'm going to drain this wand, and I'm going to do the same with this wand. Nope, there's not enough to do even one more. And then I'm going to take my two wands and come over here and find sources of Perdito. Well, that's not a bad thing. Now, because I have node mastery, it's not going to destroy the node. If I hadn't gone for that research point, it's entirely possible that I would destroy these nodes in the process of tapping this much off of them. Because if you drop below 1 to 0 on any of the aspects, the node's going to die. So you can see in the upper left-hand corner that I have a bar showing exactly how much left I have to go before any one of those fill. There, my aqua is full. And my Perdito is full. There we go. Now let me start on this one. There. Looks like I've filled both of those up. So, without this many nodes available, this would be a completely unreasonable set of tasks that I'm taking on. But with all of these available in the neighborhood, and with my full robes on, this isn't too bad. So, I'm going to go ahead and wait for those nodes to fill up and restore these ones up to just enough to get the job done, and I'll be back once I've finished all of these void jars. Hello folks, so I've finished doing my crafting, and I'm just refilling my last wand for the last time after I finished a little bit more work, because the next thing that I want to do is to start with an infusion crafting, which is sort of the, shall we say, the big bad voodoo thing of Thaumcraft. It's hard. Not easy. There are a lot of complicated details to it, and I've been doing quite a lot of research to it. And let me start with this. See this structure that I've built here? See all those, like, brown clay lines? This is the space that Thaumcraft cares about when you're doing infusion crafting. What I mean by that is this. Every single recipe, let me pick an example. What's a thing that I might need to make? I remember. If I wanted to make myself a... That's not it. Great wood wand core? Nope. Oh yes, a wand focus of warding. Here's a perfect example. This is an arcane infusion process. I need 3, 6, 8 pillars around my runic matrix. I'll show you what that is in a minute, just a second. A pillar in the middle with a nether star in it, and these aspects in jars. Those and it's going to have moderate instability. Okay, what does all that mean? Let me go through it in a little bit more detail. If I come down here, I think is it an artifice? Yes, it is. So you have to make yourself an infusion crafting altar. It's made out of these arcane stone blocks. It's not particularly hard. You have to make a runic matrix that sits in the middle of the whole thing, and you assemble it like this: 4 arcane stone bricks with an arcane pedestal, and then some arcane stone blocks around the outside, and then the runic matrix top at the center. And then, sort of like this is laid out, this only shows 4 pedestals. I'm going to go with 8. And then, things like candles, skulls, crystals, etc. will have an effect of reducing the instability. Well, there's a lot of complicated information related to that, and I've dug into it. So basically what we need to do is we need to build ourselves an altar. Here's where that torch right there is where the runic matrix is going to end up. So the structure is going to be built around here, and then the pedestals will be placed out here, and then when we run any infusion crafting action to determine instability, and instability are things like the things that you have put around, like when I was looking at, what was I looking at? Maybe, no. Where was I? Yeah. These earth shards, these order shards, these nether quartz, these quicksilver. In some recipes, they're much more expensive things. They can be struck by lightning and destroyed. They can simply be knocked off their pedestals. You can be struck by lightning. There are several different things that can happen, none of which are pleasant, in the process of that infusion occurring. They all happen in this space. So if we want to reduce them, what the book said here in infusion was we can put various elements around it, and the longer crafting continues due to problems, the greater the chance of something bad happening. Take careful note of where you place things because structure must be symmetrical. What they mean is this. See how I've broken this up into a grid? 4 corners? Well, what that means is, if I, for example, I build my altar in here. If I put a table, altar here, I better put one over here. If I put one here, I better put one over here. In fact, if possible, if I put one here, better put one here, and here, and here. They need to be symmetrical in all the directions. So the things that matter in that symmetry space are pedestals. I'm having 8 pedestals, which means I'm doing here and here. That's 2 multiplied by 4. 2, 2, 2, and 2 is the 8 that I need. So I'm going to make those nice and clean and symmetrical. Then it checks this entire box that I've drawn over the edges, down by that many blocks. That's 10 underneath here, and 5 above. I didn't draw a box in there because I don't intend to operate in that space at the moment. It checks that entire space for a collection of things: crystal clusters, candles, aura nodes, nitor, mob heads, those sorts of things. And if those things exist and are symmetrically opposed to each other, then it reduces the instability. That means if I put a crystal cluster here, it's not going to help me a lot. But if I put one here and match the spot here and here, then it will reduce my instability by some. If I put a head here and a crystal cluster here, and an airy block here, and a nitor here, they will all sort of balance against each other. They're just counted as things. They don't need to be exactly symmetrical in what they are. They just need to exist in the same places, radially symmetrical. And the reason that I drew this whole bounding box down here, I can fill that entire space, layers upon layers, with various things. I don't intend to immediately, but as I gain more resources, I'm going to put crystal clusters in those spaces. That's part of why I set up that large crystal processing line. Let me go show it to you again. That's part of why right here, this is busy. Anytime it gets ice, it's breaking ice, it's breaking sandstone slabs, it's breaking obsidian. All of that is occurring because I want to have as many blocks as possibly available so that when I want to build crystal clusters, I can. And so I just set up an automatic process to make these shards, which can be assembled into crystal clusters, which can then be set up to reduce the instability of my altar. That's why I did them. So now I'm just checking. Yeah, I'm out of ice, and I'm not surprised. So, nonetheless, this is the basic setup for my altar. Now, other things, symmetry doesn't matter. Torches, it doesn't matter. Blocks like this, irrelevant. I can put some furnaces in here, that's fine. I can put void jars in here, that's just fine. I can put all sorts of things in here, as long as I am extremely careful about the things that are on the list. And those things, like I said, are aura nodes, crystal clusters, candles, mob skulls, nitor, that sort of thing. And so I've sort of defined a space to make sure that when I build in here, I don't mess up, because I don't want to mess up. I don't want any of these things set up wrong. So, I wanted to show you this space before I get a little bit more work. I'm going to build out a little bit of a border around the outside. Oh, in case you guys are wondering what the size of this space is, it is 12 in each direction from the runic matrix. That means this being center, there's 12 blocks that way, 12 blocks that way, 12 that way, 12 that way. So we've got a total of 25 by 25 is what this space turns out to be. And then it goes down by 10 from the runic matrix, which is going to sit right here, and up by 5. That means you could theoretically build in that space up there and add more things, but I'm not going to. Mostly, the reason on that is when you are doing infusion crafting and you have these jars set down, it's going to suck the essence, the various things needed for infusion. It's going to suck them out of there, and they're going to come up in this arc and come back down. And if they run into any blocks in the process, that's a problem. And I don't want that. So I'm going to make sure that the ceiling in this room is quite high, and that'll make sure that that doesn't happen, and I don't have to worry about that. And quite frankly, there's only so much stuff that I feel like is worth laying down in an attempt to reduce problems on this infusion crafting, and I guess I don't really feel like I need that space up there given how much I have down below. So let me do just a little bit more work to finish setting this space up, and then I will show you me setting up my infusion altar. Okay folks, so now I'm going to start putting together the various things that I need for the infusion altar. The first thing that I need are arcane stone blocks, which I've already made. They're basically stone around any shard with a little teeny bit of ignis and ordo. Terra and ignis. So, next I'm going to use those to make this recipe. So any shard surrounding an ender pearl and an arcane stone block. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. Ender pearl in the middle, and these 4 water shards, because that's the thing that I have the most of, and toss this wand in. It'll cost me 32, and now I have a runic matrix. That makes the center of it. Now, what goes around that? I'm going to need pedestals, and I'm going to need 1, And then I'm going to need 8. So I need 9 of these. It's going to make me 10, so I might as well just go ahead and do that. So 5 multiples of this recipe. There we are. 5 multiples of this. And my wand is still in great shape. Let me sort out my inventory a little bit. There is that. There's the runic matrix itself. Now what else do we need? Well, we're going to need 4 arcane stone bricks and 4 arcane stone blocks. If I'm correct, yes. The arcane stone brick recipe is simply 4 arcane stone bricks become 4 arcane stone blocks. So, let's go over and set this up in the location I already had prepared. Unfortunately, this is going to take a moment because I'm going to have to break a pair of obsidian blocks, but I figured that was the easiest way to make sure that I had carefully marked the location that I wished to build this. Actually, you know what? This will work a little bit better and save me from having to futz around any. First we'll break this. Then I'm going to remove this torch up here. I'm going to straighten out any lighting problems that came up. None that I care about. Perfect. So now let's look at this recipe one more time. We need arcane stone bricks, arcane stone blocks, pedestal on the bottom. Another gap. Okay, so we want arcane stone bricks. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we need the pedestal underneath here. And we need arcane stone blocks. There, 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 and there. Now, I'm pretty sure that this is going to count as a semi-transparent structure, and so lighting issues are not going to be a problem, but rather than be cocky and potentially wrong, I'm going to go ahead and do this, because I noticed there were lighting problems up there. So now, one more check, make sure that we've got everything. Bricks, good. Blocks, good. Pedestal, gap, and then the runic matrix. So, I've left this obsidian in place. It's going to allow me to put the runic matrix right there. And I'm going to have to now remove this obsidian. And I believe, there we are. Tap it with a wand, and we have a runic matrix. And it spins pretty. So, now, I'm going to set up my tables in a completely symmetrical and easy to access fashion. That leaves me one spare, which is fine. And while I'm here, since I just made them, I will scan the arcane pedestal. I will scan the infusion pillar. Nothing can be learned. We'll scan the runic matrix. Wonderful. Yeah, nothing more I need to scan there. I've already scanned these void jars. So, we have our infusion altar built. It is the most basic of altars, and at the moment it has nothing to protect it from instability. But it exists, and my intent is to use it for a thing that will help me move forward with it, and that's this. First thing I really want to make is the golem animation core for alchemy. This will allow me to use a golem to fill all these jars instead of having to do it by hand. So, let me collect together the things that I need, and then I'll step you through the process real quick. Okay, the first two things I'm going to make, because they're easy, is a Golemancer's Bell, which will allow me to control a golem, and I'm going to make a crucible. Just simply take a cauldron, put it on the ground, whack it with a wand, and hey look, now I can scan a crucible. So, now I've got to set up fire underneath that crucible, and I need to set up a source of water. So I'll be right back once I have those solved. Okay, folks, so I decided that an easy source of water is just to grab it out of my AE system. I do have a large supply of buckets available in there. So what we do is we pour it in here, and then we wait until it bubbles. And let me get rid of my bucket while I'm doing that. And the recipe that I intend to make at the moment is starting down the golem path. I need myself a flesh golem. So I made myself a block of flesh, and now I've got the necessary ingredients: Humanus, Modus, and Spiritus. There, it's bubbling. This has Humanus, only one, but that's enough. This has Spiritus, that's 2, that's plenty. This has 2 of these have 8, and this 4 of these have 8, and there's my block of flesh. So what you do is very simply, you toss those in, toss that in, toss that in. And I'm about to make a bit of a mess because I'm not going to use all of this stuff, but there we go. There is my golem. And now, I think all I have to do to empty this is to whack it with a wand. Shift click. You'll notice that made some gaseous, I think that's called flux. And it's going to float up there and then spread out, and it's just going to sit there. I don't like to do this often, and I don't like to do it quite with a ceiling above me, but I'm just getting started, and I'm going to move forward. So that gets me started. I'll be right back once I'm ready for the next step, which I believe is making the nitor that I need to make the basic golem core. So I'll be right back once I have the the nitor recipe ready, and then we'll be able to move on to making the basic golem core. Okay, folks, so now I want to show you that you can do mass crafting. And the recipe that I'm calling for calls for 3 lux, 3 ignis, and 3 potentia, and tossing in a glowstone to get the process going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to toss in 30, 30, and 30, and my glowstone. It looks like I went overboard. So I got myself 8 and glowstone. I'm going to toss them in one at a time and see if I can get those numbers closer to done. 11, 5. Okay, so I got myself 8, and that is the best that I can do. Sometimes what you get is this. Instead of getting gaseous flux, you get liquid flux. The easiest way to clean that up is to simply place a block over it, and it's gone. Unfortunately, I can't do that for that one that's up there, but hopefully at some point some of it will bleed away. So that gives me 8 nitor, much more than I actually need for this process, but nitor is a valuable thing to have around, and I guess I learned myself a lesson that maybe I shouldn't multiply recipes quite so hard. So I now have my basic golem animation core. To make it into one of alchemy, first I have to turn it into decanting. So let me find vacuous and aqua, the ingredients that I need next. I'll be right back. Okay, here we go, folks. So I'm going to get 5 aqua off of this clay. As you can see, 5. And I'm going to very efficiently get 5 vacuous off of these bowls. And then I'm going to toss the golem animation core in, and it comes back this way. And now, empty that off. Looks like I've got liquid flux again. Pink, and gone. Nice and easy. Now, the next step is going to be infusion crafting. and water bottles, and a warded jar. I should have kept one of my warded jars, but that's okay. I'll be right back, folks, once I'm ready. Now, when you need to do infusion crafting, one of the things that you need is essentia. And to do that, you need the alchemical furnace. So the first thing I'm going to make right here is an alchemical furnace in my workbench. And that goes like this, and like this. That gets me an alchemical furnace. And then the next thing that you need is a Vise filter. And let me just verify the recipe. That needs to be turned into arcane alembics. And I think I actually, if I recall correctly, I can make 5 on top of each other. So I'm going to make 4 more of those Vise filters and turn them all into arcane alembics. So and what was it? This was very interesting. This turns into silverwood planks. I have no idea. I guess you just use them like normal planks, and that seems like an absurd waste of silverwood. Anyway, good to know, I guess. So, I'm going to do this and this and see if I have the recipe right. I do. That will get me 5 arcane alembics and a wand that I now feel like is probably worth going and recharging. Does this one have anything used? Yes, it does. So, let me just step over to my collection of nodes that are oh so wonderful to have. And recharge my wands. I'm just going to go through with this wand and go through until it's completely recharged, rather than going back and forth with each wand at every given node. If I'm correct, that one's now at 100%. Perfect. Now, no. There we go. A little more air. A little more Ignis. And there we go. That one's completely full. Now, let's go place these blocks down. I have some dirt to do this with. And let me grab myself some charcoal. Not the most efficient way of doing this, but it'll do just fine for now. I'm going to set it up right here, I think. First we put down our furnace. There. And then we place our alembics on top of it. And to do that, I'm going to need to make myself a little bit of a dirt tower. 2, 3, 4, 5. Not 100% sure that I've connected them all in the best or most efficient way possible, but they are all connected. That helps. So now, the next thing that I need to do is go ahead and make that golem animation core, which was the intent of my process today. So, I need to get a hold of 3 water bottles, a warded jar, and these necessary items. So, I'll be right back once I have all the things needed to make this work. Okay, folks, so I'm just about ready. I want to show you a couple of refinements that I use when I do casting. First, if you take a hopper and you place it up against each one of these, they count as an inventory. What that means is you can put things in the hopper and they will end up on the pedestals. That's an advantage, because sometimes things get knocked off of pedestals. So, knowing that there was the possibility of things getting knocked off the pedestals, knowing that water bottles are cheap and easy to have, now it says it wants one at each quadrant. So I'm actually going to change the way I'm doing this. Come on, give me that back. There we go. 1, 2, 3, and the last quadrant requires a void jar, and I made a couple of extra jars just to be sure. Now, I don't think there's any real possibility of these things getting knocked off. This is a relatively simple recipe, but nonetheless, I set it up just in case. Now, the next thing that I need to do is make the various aspects, and what I've decided on is cactus, rubber bars, and netherwort. So the first thing that I'm going to do, which one of these is going to be the most complicated? Cactus. I'm going to toss the cactus in. What happens is it burns off, making essentia, and this essentia climbs up this stack. And what you need to do, at least what I need to do right now, is come over here, and I think, will that do it? Nope. I gotta figure out which side and which placing to get. I may very well need a piece of essentia tube before I can make this work. Yeah, I think I do. So, while that cooks, let me go make one. I think they're relatively quick and easy. In fact, I'm going to need a bunch anyway. So, essentia tubes. Gold, glass, quicksilver, iron. Fast and easy. Gold, glass, quicksilver, and the ever necessary iron. I'm really glad that I have so much iron right now. I'm very confused why it's not being smelted, but that's fine. I'll troubleshoot that between episodes. Now, what was that recipe for making these again? Iron, iron, glass, gold, quicksilver. Glass, iron, quicksilver, gold. Makes 6. I don't think I'm going to use more than that right now. So, back to what I was doing now that I have the pieces that I need. Now, it used to be that you could just connect up these things and just connect them up to all these jars and everything would work fine. Not so much anymore. So, let's see. It doesn't connect here. It does connect there. That's what I needed to know. Does it connect out the other side if I... It does. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach a warded jar there. And might as well get another one. Attach it there. Now this is filling with herba, and I would like it to be labeled such. This is filling with Perdito, and now that's labeled. And I believe there's aqua up there. So I need an essentia tube out the side, and I need one of my jars. Now I could just use the warded jars, but the void jars are what I intend to use long term, so I'm just going to do it right the first time. And slap a label on that. Now let's place this down so that I can see it. And this. Now, make sure, no point in doing a recipe when you're not ready. So, is this artifice? No, it's gallimancy. So this is going to take aqua, modus, and precantatio. So, here is my 15 aqua. Now the next one that I'm going to pull off is rubber. It's going to have 2, and another where it's going to have 2 as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4 jars. Now let's wait till they fill. I don't want to let things get complicated. So let's cook off all of the rubber. Now, if I were using something better here, like Alimentum, this purple bar would drop more quickly as Essentia drifted its way up into these. But I'm not. Oh, hey, look. There's Herba up there. It looks like some Herba got stuck in the wrong place, and there's nothing up top. So, I'm going to have to bleed that off in just a minute. So I need my 16 of this, my 16 of that. Anything in here? There is not. Actually, this is just a little bit. Yeah, it works. Now, since this is already an Herba jar, when I attach it right here, that's me being efficient. 45. Nothing more in this stack. Perfect. So, let's put down, this is a jar of Essentia with no current label on it, but it's Modus. Here's my Herba. Here is an unlabeled Instrumentum. And I have 2 more jars that are going to take these 2, which is Herba and Precantatio. So, I've already got the Herba jar. I can put down one of these void jars. And I'm going to take a hope that I get this right. Possible that I'll be wrong, and I'll have to switch these 2 jars. Actually, let me just make sure right now. So, go ahead and toss this nether wart in. If I'm lucky, Precantatio will go there, and Herba will go there. That seems to be what's happening, and that's great. So I'll let this finish burning off. Let the Essentia drift out, and what I'm going to end up with is a full jar of Herba. But that's fine, because it's a void jar, so I can continue putting more Herba in it. Almost never am I going to need more than 64 Herba in a given recipe, and Herba is cheap and easy for me to get a hold of. So, and it looks like I'm just 4 shy of full. Everything's burned off. All is well. Here is my Herba jar. And there is my Precantatio. So, let's just make sure. Look at the list one more time. I need water, 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 jar. Water, 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 jar. Cool. It doesn't really matter what direction those things go in. And 15 aqua, 15 modus, and 15 precantatio. 15 aqua, 50 precantatio, 16 modus. That's just fine. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take this golem animation core, we're going to put it on the center, we're going to whack that with our wand. Now, it's immediately sucking in these aspects. If you'll notice, see how high this goes? That's why I didn't want there to be a ceiling in the way. Nothing's being knocked off. I don't see any instabilities occurring. It's pulling the modus right now. And now it'll begin dissolving the individual items, and they'll be immediately replaced by my hoppers, but that's just fine. That won't cause the system to glitch out any. And complete. And now I have a Golem animation core of alchemy. If I'm correct. Is that how I combine them? Nope. Do I put you down? Yep, except that I need to pick you up now. So let's go ahead and whack you with a golem. Bell. And I would like to place you on the furnace. Give you that golem animation core. Oops, that was not my intent. I hope he has the range to reach there. So now, he has now been told that he is to put things in those 3 blocks. And I don't know if I have to give him a jar or if he'll figure this out himself, so let's find out. Quicksilver. Let's burn up 1 drop of Quicksilver. It's immediately going to turn into Essentia. And as you'll know, he immediately went to work loading it into jars. So I'm going to label those jars. So that any Essentia that comes out in the future goes in the places that I wanted it to. And that was Quicksilver. So that should have had 3. Ah, Metallum showed up at the top. I have no Metallum already. There we go. So, we now have a golem who will help us by moving the various aspects that we need. And I think I can remove these tubes now. And there we are. We now have a process by which we can begin the automatic implementation of Thaumcraft artifice. So, let me remove all the items that I no longer need from here. It's just a right click on the pillar. And there we are. This is completely reset and ready for the next time. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode and got something useful out of it. I am perfectly happy with the golem that I've made over there and the work that he's supposed to do, and I look forward to using him on more recipes. Have a good night, folks.